Hey guys, welcome to our Friday gardening tip. Glad to have you here. This week we are going to continue our discussion on seed starting, and we are going to talk a little bit about some of my favorite ideas for containers for growing your seedlings in. Okay, so these are our containers that you can be growing seedlings in throughout the year that then you transplant out into your garden. Okay, so first off, I have favorites for sure. And these favorites are actually these commercially available types of seed starting containers. So I've got a few examples for you here. This is my favorite by far. I love the little 4-pack cell packs. They work really, really well. They're good for a large percentage of the seedlings that I start. So most of them will do just fine for about 4 to 6 weeks in this small container, and then I can transplant them out. Now, if we're talking a little bit bigger, so maybe like broccoli or cabbage, something like that, we'll maybe move up to this size. And then if we're talking about really big plants like tomatoes, maybe even peppers, things that are going to stay maybe 6 to 8 weeks indoors, then I may move up to this 4-inch pot, or maybe even something like this, a round one as well. I like the square ones just a little bit better because they kind of all stack together and work a little bit better in my trays and containers that I have to water them in. Now, why are these guys my favorite? And why do I think if you have them available, you should use them? The main reason why is because they're meant to grow seedlings in, okay? And so they have these, if you look really close, there's holes in the bottoms of all of these containers. And every kind of container that you're going to use for seed starting needs to have a hole. So if we're going to use some of these recycled options, you're going to need to add holes to them. But the nice thing about these commercially available ones is that the holes are designed so that when they're sitting flat in a tray, the holes are still exposed. And so you can water underneath. So instead of pouring water on the top, you're going to pour water in your tray, maybe a 1/2 inch of water, and then that water is going to soak up through these holes and water and moisten all of the soil inside your container. And that's much gentler on your starts than trying to water from the top, especially when we're talking about first, when you first put seeds in, the soil is dry and you try to water from the top, you're going to float those seeds, or if the seedlings have just started to come up, you may damage the root structure. And so it's really, really good to water from underneath. And so that's why I like these so much, because they're designed for that. That's the way most nurseries water, and it's just really, really good. So that is my number one option for growing seedlings. But, and by the way, most of this stuff, I did buy these, but these are all recycled. So either from neighbors or from things that I've bought over the years, I save all of my containers. And so I'm recycling and reusing these. And the nice thing about them is even though this is a pretty thin plastic, they're really quite durable. These are 8 years old already. And I've used them for that many seasons, and they get used at least 2 or 3 times every season. So, they've gone through a lot and they're still in good shape. And so they last a long time. So if you're worried about plastic, you can definitely be recycling these over and over and over again. Okay. Now, all these other options are recycled options that you could come up with from your home, like yogurt cups, and we've got all kinds of different sizes of yogurt cups here. These are all even a little bit smaller. You can get bigger ones, but a yogurt cup, all you need to do is just cut some holes in the bottom so that you'll have drainage, and these work out really well. The one thing you need to be careful with is there are some yogurts that kind of try to get fancy with their containers, and so the container will actually be smaller at the top than it is at the bottom, and then you can't get the seedling out. So make sure you don't use a container that's cone shaped to the top. It needs to be cone shaped to the bottom so that you can actually get the seedlings out when you do it. Okay, but yogurt cups are a really good idea, and these these are even sturdier than this plastic and could be used year after year after year after year. So good option, a good way to use some plastic up and continue to reuse it and get more than one use out of plastic. These little fruit cups are okay. This one in particular is a little bit short, so I would put something in here like lettuce, maybe Swiss chard, something that doesn't have a really deep root structure and something that's probably not going to spend a really long time in this cup. So, maybe 4 weeks maximum in a cup like this. And again, you're going to have to cut holes in the bottom. But it's just a little bit shallow. The fruit cups are a little on the shallow side, so you're never going to plant tomatoes or spinach that has a deep tap root, something like that, in a shallow cup like this, okay? All right, other ideas. These guys are great. These Dixie party cups, whatever you want to call them, are really good. They come in several different sizes. Again, I'm not encouraging you to go out and buy these to start your own seedlings in. I'd rather see you recycle them from a party or something like that. These are really, really good. These big tall ones are great for things like tomatoes. Some of your bigger, beefier flowers will go really well in these. And again, you're going to need to cut some holes in the bottom, probably in the side and in the bottom here, so that you have drainage. And then away you go. These are great. In whatever size they come in, you can use them for different options. So plastic cups are great. Okay, well, let's stick with the plastic stuff for a little while. This is like a fruit container. I had to get a lot of these from my neighbors because we don't usually buy stuff in plastic like this. But you've got fruit containers. These you're going to need to cut a hole in, but you could plant lettuces or things like that in something like this. This was a blackberry container. They're a little bit on the shallow side. So again, you're going to be doing things that are shallow rooted, but see how shallow it is. The nice thing about these, though, is they already have holes in the bottom, so you don't have to cut holes. And the other thing is you could use the lid for a way to keep moisture in, especially when you're initially germinating the seedlings. So I might cut this lid off, but then keep it and use it until the seedlings are up, and then take it off completely. And another good option, good recycled option. And then, of course, a bigger clamshell one. This is going to be for some big sturdy, again, tomatoes or something like that. Could go well in something like this. And again, these guys already have holes in the bottom, so those are nice. And then another fun idea that you could use is these little milk cartons. So my wife actually works at a school, and she just grabbed a few of these out of the garbage can. And these are a great idea. These are probably only going to be able to be reused once or twice before they break down. There's a lot of water and moisture involved in seed starting, and so these are probably going to break down quicker than obviously the plastic things. But a good way to get rid of these and reuse them a couple of times. So this is what it looks like. You're just going to cut the top off and then few holes again in the bottom so that you have some drainage. But that's another good idea. A few other ideas. I couldn't dig these up. I emailed neighbors and everything, but the takeout containers that you use for like Chinese food, those would also be a good option. I would stay away from containers that have styrofoam in them. That styrofoam is going to break down fairly quickly and kind of start getting incorporated into your seedling mix. Don't quote me on the science on that, but I feel like that would be the case. The other thing is those styrofoam containers are not going to be nearly as durable, so you're maybe going to get one use out of them. But I'd dodge styrofoam if I were you. One other option that is a really good option, if you want to get, because I know some of you are probably going, oh, that plastic, and we definitely have a problem with plastic in the world right now. So part of my point is we're reusing that plastic and hopefully keeping it out of the landfills. But if you're really adverse to plastic, then there is another option that you can use for seed starting, and that's what are called soil block makers. So I'm going to do a cutaway here from a video that I filmed a few years ago when I actually tested one of these out. So a soil block maker, you actually compact soil into this little block maker and then squeeze it out, and then you plant in the tops of that soil. I tested these. I actually used them twice, and I didn't love them, but I didn't hate them either. They were a little bit more complicated to deal with. You had to be really careful. You absolutely have to water from the bottom with these. You have to water so that the water will soak up into the tray. And but I didn't hate them. You know, they worked well, and the transplants that I took out to the garden, you know, you don't have to disturb the roots or anything. You just kind of pull those plants out piece at a time and stick them in the garden. And so I didn't hate them. I didn't love them either. I didn't love them enough that I rushed out and bought a soil block maker. But you know, it is another good option. And the nice thing about that is it's really going to limit the amount of plastic that you have involved in your operation. So anyways, okay, so those are my ideas for some recycled containers that you can be using to start your own seedlings in. Okay? And again, remember, the important thing is that they need to have a drainage hole. They need to have a way for the water to get out and hopefully to get in as well, so that you can water from the bottom instead of from the top. So great options. That, my friends, is all I have for you for this week. This is another of our seed starting videos, and so you'll find at the end of this video a link to a playlist where we'll have all of our seed starting videos attached, so that you can kind of continue on and continue watching as we teach you a little bit more about starting seedlings. Okay? Now, one thing that I did want to point out, we have two other options available for you to be able to learn from. Number one is we have a free Seed Starting Basics course. I'll include the link to that course in the description below. And then we have a paid course, which is our Seed Starting Simplified course. It's about a 3-hour course that includes live interaction with me. We do some Q&A sessions. We have a Facebook group. And that is also available 3 or 4 times during the year. And so I'll include a link for that. And if it happens to be closed for students right now, then there'll be a way for you to sign up for the email list, so that the next time it opens up, you'll get noticed. So that link will be down below as well. Okay? All right. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification bell so that you get noticed the next time I release a video. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or any other ideas for containers, please go ahead and leave those in the comment section down below. Okay? That's all I have for you for this week. Everybody have a fantastic week. Happy gardening.